Hello, I'm John Cunningham. Welcome to the RedChip Money Report. For those of you new to the show, RedChip is an investor relations, media, and research firm focused on emerging growth companies. Our unique platform combines global multimedia with traditional investor relations, reaching investors around the world. Now, today's show features interviews with executives of three exciting small-cap public companies. First, MYnd Analytics, stock symbol MYnd on the NASDAQ. MYnd Analytics uses predictive analytics to help physicians provide more personalized mental health care to patients while reducing trial and error treatment decisions. You will learn more about the benefits of this innovative patented technology in an interview with the chairman of MYnd Analytics later in the show. The second company featured on today's show is GSRX Industries, stock symbol GSRX on the OTCQB. GSRX operates 6 cannabis dispensaries in Puerto Rico and California, and they recently announced completion of construction for 2 new locations in Puerto Rico. The company is also getting in the lucrative CBD market, having already opened its first retail kiosk in Tennessee, with 2 bricks and mortar locations slated to open in the near term. We'll hear about the company's impressive growth later in the show when we speak with its chairman of the board. The final company featured on today's show is Electra Meccanica, stock symbol SOLO or SOLO on the NASDAQ. Solo is a designer and manufacturer of 1- and 2-seat electric vehicles. The company hopes to revolutionize the way people commute with its innovative vehicles. We'll learn more about the current operations and the future growth when we speak with the company's CEO later in the show. Now, before we get to our first interview, our lesson of the week, it comes from the book Small Stocks, Big Money. Do your homework, understand companies you invest in, forwards and backwards. This simple lesson comes from Small Stocks, Big Money, a book of exclusive interviews with some of the biggest players in the microcap space. The book is available on our website and at Amazon.com. Now let's go to our first interview today. It's with Robin Smith, chairman of MYnd Analytics.
Robin, thanks for being with us today.
Thanks for having me. It's great to see you.
Now, MYnd Analytics has combined telemedicine and artificial intelligence to deliver personalized behavioral health treatment plans. Give us an overview of your technology.
So we do 2 things. We improve access to care, and we have tools for physicians to help determine what medication might be effective in the person in the behavioral health area. So it's using artificial intelligence to determine, based on EEG waves, the patterns of many thousands of patients to determine what medication will work in that person's brain.
As I understand it, there's been over 40 studies conducted on your technology from a lot of Ivy League schools, so give us a little history.
Yeah, so I look at this very similar to what we all know in cancer. Not all breast cancers are alike. There are markers, the BRCA gene, in lung cancer. So we have to look for ways to determine the subtypes of a disease so that we can better determine how to treat a patient. And now what we've learned with many independent studies of KOLs, the EMBARK trial, which was the recent NIH-funded trial, is that EEG is a good predictive marker of diseases in behavioral health like depression, and that by using the patterns, we each have different EEG patterns, and by using those patterns and following people out with their outcomes to different medications, we can determine how your brain will respond to a particular medication. And that helps give a tool to physicians when they go to treat you to understand better what classes may work for your brain based on those patterns and specifically what drugs in those classes.
Robin, what's the essential value proposition for investors today? And you can talk about the recent merger you announced with Emmaus Life Sciences in this as you answer the question.
There's a couple of trends now that are very important, I think, in medicine. One is moving toward value-based medicine. How do you improve access to care, improve quality, and lower costs? And behavioral health is an area that's a very large focus because about 25% of people in their lifetime will have a behavioral health condition. There are many out there. So how do you help individuals get access to care? And we do that through telemedicine. And then how do we give tools to the primary care physicians, the doctors who are really frontline before they even get to a psychiatrist, to help them have tools to determine objectively what the right medications will be. So really we use AI. We have telemedicine, which is a growing space now to improve access to care. And it's a time where we're able to look to maximize shareholder value through a recent acquisition that we announced, we signed a definitive agreement to bring a commercial company with a biotechnology company in sickle cell disease, where they just started to commercialize their product. And in this merger transaction and then the spinoff of the MYnd business and the Arcadia telemedicine business, our investors will be able to have what I call 2 bites of the apple: ownership in the new company, Emmaus, as well as they'll hold all the ownership in the MYnd and Arcadia business.
And so the acquisition is a company that has a drug approved for sickle cell anemia, as I understand it. And if you look at some of the comps in that space, you're seeing $1 billion plus market cap. So they would keep 6% of that company that you acquired while also owning MYnd Analytics, correct?
Yes. So we will hold 5.9% of the merged companies for our shareholders. And of course, I can't give guidance, but you're right. It's a company that has first mover advantage. It was one of the first approved drugs for sickle cell in a very long time. And it's an area of focus now where people are looking for ways to prevent those sickle cell crises and people coming into the ER and coming back to the doctor. So the therapy that they have is exciting. They started to commercialize, and now how do they expand? And what's important to realize is while there's only 100,000 cases in the United States, there's over 20 million people worldwide that have sickle cell. So the opportunity isn't just in the United States, but globally. And hopefully, once we have the merger, we'll continue to see progress in their expansion throughout the world.
Apart from the acquisition of Emmaus Life Science, let's go back to the telemedicine and the behavioral health technology. How big is the market opportunity?
In general, it's tremendous. I mean, if you think about the fact that 25% of people will have a behavioral health issue, you can see that's a very large part of the population just in the United States alone. We're constantly seeing people saying this is an underserved population. I believe just yesterday we saw an executive order from Trump looking at veteran suicides to work together to use technology and reduce the suicides that occur at over 20 a day. Looking just at ER visits, 10% of those visits are people coming to the emergency room for behavioral health issues, not necessarily from the treatment perspective, but the access. There's nowhere they can go to get help, so they go to the emergency room. So billions and billions of dollars is being spent in mental health diseases, and having more effective tools to improve that access to care, to reduce the trial and error prescribing should have a dramatic impact, not just on quality, but on overall cost.
And again, to clarify, so by giving the patient an EEG, your technology can determine which drug would best suit that person to treat their particular mental health problem. Is that correct?
Yeah, 17 million people in the United States have been on 2 medications and are what's called refractory. They're just not responding well to care. So it really is trial and error prescribing. And very often that makes people not come back to the physician, or under that treatment. They start self-medicating with alcohol, drug abuse. And it really is an area where we're just not serving properly or having a solution for the disease in a way that, trial and error prescribing just isn't working.
Robin, you have a program with the U.S. government. I'd like you to talk about that program. You also have a pilot program with Horizon in New Jersey. Could you comment on those 2 programs?
So, with the government, unless you're a provider inside, say, a VA, the way it works is you have to apply to be in the GSA. So what they do is they negotiate contracts with vendors. And now that there are these tools and technologies that are more IT related, we've been able to work on getting a contract. So it's a negotiated rate, 5-year contract, which can be renewed with the government, so that anyone in the mental health in the government area that's looking for technologies and services can go to their GSA and take and utilize those services on the negotiated rate. So now we have to take that information and let people know that we're on the GSA, that it's out there, and look for ways to drive revenues and get patients into that contract. So we're pretty excited about that, and that's very recent. And then over a year ago, we started a pilot program, a paid pilot program, with Horizon of New Jersey and Hackensack Meridian, and where we're working to utilize the tool, the peer report, with physicians. So half of the physicians will get the peer report and look at that tool to help determine what the right medication is for the patient. Half won't, and then we'll look at the differences in outcomes, not just from quality, but also cost. Because through the pharmacoeconomic studies that have been done, there's a 4.7 times savings for physicians if they utilize that tool. That's what this analysis that was done at Stanford showed. So now we want to show more real life that how this will occur in today's healthcare system. So we're really excited about that. And what's important there is there's about 2.8 or 2.7 million lives under the Horizon umbrella. And so 16% of those individuals will be on those kinds of medications for depression, anxiety, manic mania, eating disorders, et cetera. So that's the pool. And the question is, if this becomes a standard of care, what would that look like? So of a 2.7 or close to 3 million population, that's 600,000 people just in New Jersey. That's the population that we have that we could really focus on and help use our tools to improve the care, both in access and in quality, and make sure that they're on a medication that's most efficient and works best for them. So you can see that really plays out. We charge about $800 for the test in its entirety, including the EEG and the report. So that can grow very quickly when you go from a pilot to become standard of care. So that would be our hope for the future. And we'll continue to work with other payers to show them how this can be a benefit to their population of members that they insure.
Robin, to recap, what's the main takeaway for investors today? Why should they own your stock today?
I think the main takeaway is we have great technology, good intellectual property, and we now have telemedicine as well as this tool to reduce trial and error prescribing. And we are really behavioral health companies with tools that can have an impact to care. We have additional leadership that we brought on, who's a gentleman who's been focused on building businesses, understands, how innovation and tools can impact care, growing networks, and we're excited for him to bring these two businesses together, really drive the growth of the business. And also because we're able in this transaction with Emmaus to put that together, now is the time where if you're a shareholder and you hold that stock till we close the transaction, which we're on track for to complete by the end of the first half of this year, you will get a piece of Emmaus as well as MYnd Analytics. So it's an opportunity to get two bites of the apple in two businesses, both with commercial products and that are generating revenue. So, often with drug development, there's always a risk there, but we're past that risk in that this is a revenue generating company. And same with MYnd Analytics. The clinical trials have been done. They're getting reimbursement. And now it's just about scale and, taking the opportunities out there and being successful.
Excellent. Robin, thanks for being with us today.
Oh, thank you so much for having us, and hopefully you'll continue to watch our progress.
Now, to get more information about MYnd Analytics, visit MYndInvestor.com. You'll see research reports, fact sheets, presentations, and the latest videos. Now, it's all free, and you can even subscribe to email alerts to stay on top of the latest news. You may also call 1-800-RedChip to speak to a specialist if you have any questions. Now let's go to our second interview today. It's with Christian Briggs, chairman of GSRX Industries.
Hi, Christian. Thanks for being with us today.
Oh, thanks for having me.
GSRX recently launched its CBD line, Pure and Natural. Tell us a bit about the products, what sets them apart from others in the markets, and your sales strategy for the line.
So we recently launched Pure and Natural, which is our CBD brand. The brand consists of a host of products, including pain creams, salves, tinctures, pet, facial masks, and of course, skincare line. The interesting thing about our products is that we have a tremendous proprietary formulation that we utilize to create a pharmaceutical grade CBD. So not only is it pure and full spectrum, it's also naturally certified organic. As far as sales and distribution, we currently have our website, getpureandnatural.com, which we have seen some pretty strong sales since it's initially launched. More importantly, we're already getting wholesale distribution through various medical centers, doctors, as well as other types of retail locations. So our growth has been phenomenal. One thing to note about our Pure and Natural brand is that we've already signed leases for 2 retail locations that will be under the Pure and Natural brand, both in a community called Lakeway, which is a suburb of Austin, as well as here in Nashville, Tennessee. So in Texas and Tennessee, we've already started to grow beyond just our THC or other related cannabis business, which are, of course, in California and Puerto Rico.
How many locations do you have currently? And what have the sales been like since opening these locations?
Okay, great question. So we operate 5 dispensaries, THC permitted dispensaries in the territory of Puerto Rico. And we have, of course, the one in California. Our first quarter sales last year were around 2,200. Then we grew in second quarter to a little over 350,000. Third quarter last year was approximately 707,000. And then, of course, fourth quarter, we gave early guidance, and it was a little over $2 million. And so for first quarter this year, we're already looking at somewhere between 2.6 and 2.7 million coming into 2019.
What's the essential value proposition? Why should investors take an interest in GSRX today?
Okay, good question. So the value proposition is that we have a very select but yet experienced team of management that are already used to retail operations. So the operations that we currently focus on is either specific manufacturing and retailing. We're very good at both of them. We also have high customer service. We have a very strong product line. We're conscious about price points within each of our dispensaries to make sure that not only is the selection proper, to be able to meet the demands of our consumers and clients, customers, if you will, but also the price points that we have products that are affordable for the masses, whether it's medical for patients or if it's adult recreational use.
How big is the overall market opportunity?
That's a good question. I'm not sure how big it really is. I mean, it's a continuation of more states to legalize this that just grows by the nth degree. And so I know for us, with less than 12 months in full operations, we've gone from 2,000 in first quarter revenues to projected revenues this first quarter 2019 of somewhere between 2.6, 2.7 million for the quarter. So the market is there. It always was. What people don't realize for cannabis-based products, it's been there for 30, 40 years. What's happening is that the black market is transitioning into legalized markets. So price points are obviously important. Product selection is very important, but customer service is number one. So again, we pride ourselves on having one of the best customer service reviews. If you go to Weed Maps in Puerto Rico, we're very conscious, again, about making sure we serve the patients and the clients and the customers in such a way that it makes people want to go into a legalized place in which to buy their products. So again, it's unbelievable opportunity as we continue to grow across the United States. We open more stores.
Management is a major factor in the success of small cap companies. Tell us about some of the key players on your team.
Great. Okay, so management is key. Experienced management starts at the top. So Les Ball, who's our CEO, comes from a background working with Macy's in various departments and or parts of the company, from chairman to president and CEO in divisions of Macy's for almost 30 years. And in doing that, he understands retail. He understands how to place products, how to make the aisles, the end caps, the point of sale checkouts. These are the things that people take for granted. When we acquired a California dispensary located in Point Arena, California, last April, we increased sales within just a matter of months by almost 200 to 300% in 2 to 3, 4, 5 months, just by changing some of the way the dynamics of the operated and the way the layout was, the product selection, the price points, just the smallest of tweaks made such a huge difference. So same thing, and the principles apply within Puerto Rico. Again, it's an American territory that caters to a host of diverse and wide range of people. So we've been able to secure really strong sales at each one of the 5 locations because, again, we focus on what the customer experience is and what they expect when they walk into any one of our stores. So the management's important. We have a CFO that, again, comes from a very strong background in public accounting. And then we also have operations, including Mr. John Grainer, who's our managing director of Pure Natural, as well as our manufacturing, which is starting to ramp up in Point Arena, California, which we have a manufacturing permit that will be coming into fruition. Operations will commence sometime later this spring.
Now, Christian, what milestones can investors expect over the next 12 to 18 months?
Milestones that we're achieving right now is we have 3 more stores licensed, what they call pre-qualifications for Puerto Rico THC dispensary stores that we should open up in the next 4 to 6 weeks. That would give us around 8 locations within the San Juan and surrounding communities. So the milestones really is just about growth. It's about achieving, again, customer satisfaction, creating an environment in which people want to refer other customers, friends, family, what have you, to our locations. And number two, the milestone that we've got is we have a distributor permit in the state of California. We also have a manufacturing permit, and we will be utilizing those permits to both, one, distribute through the California marketplace cannabis products, CBD products, and number two, manufacture products that we already know the demand is there, as well as being able to sell our own products to our own retail locations that we control through dispensaries and other things.
Makes a lot of sense, Christian. Thanks for being with us today.
Thanks for having me, and get back with me anytime. Love to talk more.
Now, to get more information about GSRX Industries, visit gsrxinfo.com. You'll see research reports, fact sheets, presentations, and the latest videos. Now, it's all free, and you can even subscribe to email alerts to stay on top of the latest news. You may also call 1-800-RedChip to speak to a specialist if you have any questions. Now, let's go to our next interview today. It's with Jerry Kroll. He's the chairman of the board for Electra Meccanica.
Jerry, thanks for being with us today.
Thanks, Dave. Good to see you again.
Now, your company began delivering electric vehicles to customers in 2018, and you've booked in excess of 60,000 pre-orders. What can investors expect in 2019?
Well, our first cars, like you said, have gone out over the last couple of years, and we have some customers who are over 10,000 miles enjoying their cars, trying to fend off people from wanting to buy their cars for more than they paid for them. 2019 is our watershed year. In a week, I'll be ceremoniously opening up our massive factory. We'll have 5,000 Solos delivered on the ground in Los Angeles in 2019. That's going to change the way traffic looks in LA forever, and that's a huge inflection point for our company.
What makes your cars different or better than the competition, and what's the typical profile of one who buys your car?
As an early adopter, it's primarily male, 40 to 60 at this point in time, but as you get them out there more often, it will be everybody. And what I use as an analogy is, back before the smartphones came out, it was just desktop computers, and people thought they couldn't use a smartphone because the screen was so small. Today, for most people, the smartphone is the primary computer. 83% of people driving by themselves, the Solo is perfect. And once you drive it, you love it. And that's the thing that makes it really different than anything else on the road today.
What are the price points?
One price point. We keep it really simple. It's $15,500, and it comes with a $750 mandatory air conditioning, because that's what people want. Power steering, power brakes, air conditioning, satellite radio. It's a premium experience in a car, full electric, for a really great value price.
And I can go to your website, I can order today with a very small down payment. If I place my order today, when will I receive the car?
Well, you have to place it soon. It's at emvauto.com. You put in a fully refundable $250 deposit. If you change your mind, take it back anywhere, you'll get it back instantly. We have 23,000 orders for the Solos right now, and 5,000 coming this year. I'm hoping to have all of the people who have put in their deposits handled by the end of 2020. And there's also a chance that if more orders come in, I can double our capacity for next year too and deliver even more cars.
Substantial revenue growth in the near term then. What's the essential value proposition? Why should investors take an interest in positioning in your stock today?
Well, you know, I look at things like the research in motion BlackBerry that people hadn't even thought of. When that took off, it took off big. When people look at micro commuting and you look at companies like Lime and Bird, those are scooters, and the valuations are through the roof on those companies. Here we have a vehicle that's one person, it's sealed, it's safe, it's gone through crash testing and everything, and it's a full electric vehicle. I think you can expect the same kind of value proposition with people driving the car, not spending money on gas, and getting a premium electric car experience at a very low price.
And how many miles will it run before you have to recharge?
So it'll go 100-mile range. That 83% of commuters, the most they ever do is 20 miles in either direction. So that's what we've targeted the vehicle at, as well as last mile delivery, as well as car share. So that's how far it goes. If you go 100 miles and it's completely discharged, It'll recharge in 3 hours, top speed 85 miles an hour. It'll get to 0 to 60 in 8 seconds. It's a fun car to drive.
How big is the market opportunity, both domestically and internationally? And again, you've given us some of the key features, but are there anything else about this car that makes it different than your competitors?
Well, air conditioning, power steering, and premium comfort, that's really a big deal. There's enough room for 6 to 8 bags of groceries behind you. So that's locked and sealed as far as you go with that. The market is 83% of Americans drive by themselves in a 5-person gas car. That's 140 million people potentially in the United States. Massive market. Asia and Europe are even bigger. So we're talking about a game changer, not just for North America, but for the world. And because the steering wheel is right in the middle of the car, you don't have to move the steering wheel to the right or to the left. It's right there. We can sell the same Solo in Indiana as we do in Tokyo or London, England. It truly is a world car.
And how are you, or who is manufacturing these cars, and what are your margins?
So our margins are 25%. That's what we have baked into the car. Industry standards in automobiles is 11 to 14%. We are the manufacturers, and we designed the car and engineered it to be like a Volkswagen Beetle for the 21st century. You can actually build the car with modern systems in between 2 to 3 hours. We have our first facility here in Vancouver, Canada. The second one, which we're opening next week, is in China, and we're exploring opportunities in Europe, the United States, Mexico, and India. The plan is to make the vehicles where they're required and to move forward from there. $77 million worth of vehicles delivered this year. It's going to be an exciting year and a watershed year for our company.
That's a big number. $77 million worth of cars delivered this year, 2019. That's actually very significant.
It's not really that big of a number in the car industry. 5,000 cars, 20,000 cars. What is significant is the type of vehicle, a one-person car, because it is so amazing to see it nimbly splitting lanes, parking where other cars can't park. Not only is this going to drive sales volume for our company, it'll also probably force a lot of other car companies' hands like Toyota, Tesla, Volkswagen to manufacture a similar vehicle when our demand for the cars take off. I've always said, when you look at the Solo, and especially when you drive the Solo, this is the car that Elon Musk wishes he were building.
Well, management plays a key role in a company's success, Jerry. Tell us about some of the key players on your team.
Our company is celebrating its 60th anniversary this year. Founded in 1959 in Turin, Italy, in Vancouver since 1981, building thousands of cars, like the car that you see in the Top Gun movie by Kelly McGillis and Tom Cruise driving. That's our car. So we have 60 years of history of turning a profit, being viable going forward. And the Reisner family, Henry Reisner, who you've met, still our chief operating officer, knows how to build cars. We've got a great team as far as governance, financial. The factory that we have, just our next big factory, is operated by a company that produces 4,000 motorcycles a day. So as far as scaling up to meet most kind of demands imaginable is there as well too. So decades of experience focusing on this very innovative, disruptible form of transportation.
To recap, Jerry, what's the main takeaway? Why should other investors take an interest in your stock today, Jerry?
If you believe that there's a concern for people about the environment, if you believe that, this goes into that basket of stocks. If you believe that people want their next car to be an electric car, this should go into that basket of stocks. If you believe that cost is a hindrance for most people to get into an electric car, then you actually nail it right there. $15,500 for an electric car that you can have as your second car, leave the Range Rover at home, whatever, and drive this one in. You've got the most cost-effective value proposition for somebody to buy their first electric vehicle for commuting.
Jerry, makes a lot of sense to me. Put it in your portfolio, hold it long-term. Big things coming. Jerry, thanks so much for being with us today.
My pleasure, Dave, and I look forward to doing it again in 6 months for an update.
Now, to get more information about Electra Meccanica, call 1-800-RedChip to speak to a specialist or email us at info@redchip.com. Now, let's recap the 3 public companies we met with today. First, MYnd Analytics, a technology-focused behavioral health company. MYnd Analytics' innovative and patented technology platform helps physicians take the guesswork out of mental health treatment options, ultimately improving patient outcomes and lowering provider costs. They were recently awarded a subcontract to support suicide prevention for the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services. Visit MYndInvestor.com for more information and to sign up for news alerts to stay abreast of the latest developments of this exciting story. Now, the second company you met with today was GSRX Industries. Their stock symbol is GSRX on the OTCQB. GSRX recently raised guidance for both its fourth quarter of 2018 and the first quarter of 2019. Now, if it hits its first quarter targets, the company will be at a $10 million annual revenue run rate. Quite an impressive start for a company that opened its first dispensary less than a year ago. With new business segments in CBD and joint ventures in cultivation and manufacturing, growth should accelerate further in the months ahead. Visit GSRXinfo.com to learn more. Now, the final company you met with today was Electra Meccanica, stock symbol SOLO or SOLO on the NASDAQ. More and more electric vehicles are on the road every day. Electra Meccanica's innovative 1- and 2-seat vehicles fill a niche not being pursued by some of the larger car companies. Definitely an exciting story to watch develop in 2019 and beyond. If you have any questions about these or any companies featured on our show or our website, call us at 1-800-RedChip and speak to a specialist today. Now, these stocks are for your speculative money. Gains can be significant, but you must be prepared for the downside. Clients on this show may sometimes pay us in stock, and while you're buying, we may be selling. You can read our full disclosures at redchip.com. And if you know a public company looking for investor relations services, don't hesitate to give us a call at 1-800-RedChip, or you can email us at info@redchip.com. We look forward to hearing from you. Thanks for being with me. I'll see you the same time next week.